Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Scott, and today we're going to be painting one of the commando knobs from the new Kill Team Octarius starter set. This has been a very fun model to paint. I've enjoyed the personality in this model. I think my favorite part was probably painting the camo. So let's go ahead and dive in to how I painted this model. So to start this model off, we've primed it with Wraithbone Spray Primer from Citadel. This takes a few coats, so you'll want to make sure you take your time and do it in nice thin coats until you get even coverage. Once that's all done, we begin base coating this model using Ork Flesh. This is my first time using this paint, and I think I've fallen in love with it. It's an amazing color for easily getting that orc skin tone. We're going to apply this all over the face, all over the muscles, anywhere that there's any exposed skin. Now be careful not to let this pool too much in the eyes and the details around the face. Once our base color is dry, we're going to start shading this with Buelltan Green. And then I'll go pretty heavy on this. Let it pool up in all the recesses around his muscles, his abs, his biceps. Although we are going to be careful to not let it pool too heavily around the face details, as we don't want to lose those details, especially not the eyes. Once the shade is dry, we're going to go back with that same Ork Flesh. We're going to start layering this in a glaze over all the raised parts of the muscle. This is going to take a few coats to build it up. Go in nice, thin layers and sort of blend this color in so that you don't have a direct transition. It's more of a gradual transition from the shaded dark recesses all the way up to the most raised parts of the muscle. Once you've done that, you're going to go through with Flayed One Flesh. We're going to pick out all of the lines on his lips, any of the creases in his face that we want to really stick out. We're especially focusing on the lips in this stage. We're also going to pick out any scars that are on his skin. There's a nice big one on the side of his face here that we're going to pick out. We're going to pick out the stitches that go along his arm as well at this phase. Now, we're going to go through with Contrast Volupus Pink. We've diluted this down a little bit with some water. We're just going to put this on all of the lips, especially the areas that we just highlighted with that previous color. We're also going to put this on the scarred tissue that's around his arm, especially along where the stitches are at. This is going to give the flesh a somewhat discolored, somewhat red and swollen look. Once that's dried, we're going to go through with Wraithbone. We're tipping the model upside down so that we can gain access to the eyes, and we're just going to carefully dot the eyes with this white. And if you overpaint this, that's fine. Just go back through with the Ork Flesh and very carefully pick out the border around the eyes. We're also going to grab the teeth at this point. We're just going to paint each of the teeth. There's only a few of them on this particular model. We're going to be careful not to get this on the lips. Once that's done, we're going to take Carberg Crimson, and we're going to just dot the whites of the eyes that we painted before. And this is just going to give the eyes a glowing red look. With that done, we're going to shade the teeth using Agrax Earthshade. We're going to let this pool up pretty heavily, especially around the base of the teeth and anywhere inside the mouth. This will give some darkness to the inside of the mouth. We'll make it so we don't have to paint it black or any other colors later on. We're also going to pick out his elbows and any of the scars that we didn't shade with the other color on his flesh. This is going to help to blend that other color into the flesh. Now we're going to start working on the clothing, and we're going to start with Castellan Green. We're going to paint this all over the pants. We're going to be careful to not get this onto any of the skin or any of the details that we plan to paint a different color later. You're going to be careful when you get up to this other leg because there is a rip in the pants, and so you don't want to paint up on the skin. Now we're going to start working on his coat, or his jacket. We're going to paint this with Death World Forest. This is a lighter shade of green than we used before. We're going to get this all over the jacket, and we're going to be careful again not to get it on any of the skin. With that done, we're going to start shading all of the clothing. And we're going to use a Chthonian camo shade for this. We're just going to apply this to all of the clothing, both the coat and the pants. Now, Chthonian camo shade, you want to be careful not to let it pull up too much, because it has a tendency of kind of drying with kind of a crusty white effect if you let it pull up too thick. So be sure to just kind of get a nice, smooth, even coverage across the entire model. We're going to start working on the camo now. We're going to start by taking Ogryn camo. We're going to paint a sort of a Y shape, but like a squiggly Y. It's going to be a squiggly line. I guess you can go in just about any shape you want. The idea is to spread these out so that they're not all concentrated in one spot on the jacket. And you want them to be kind of random, because that's kind of the point of camo, is to blend into a random environment. Once you've done the Ogryn camo across the whole jacket, you'll take Mornfang brown. Now you're going to do the same style of design, but you're going to do it with this brown color and kind of give some variety to the camo. And in some spots it's going to be a good idea to make these brown lines overlap with the previous lines we did. So take your time and make sure it looks good. The last thing we're going to do with the jacket is we're going to take Ogryn camo and we're going to edge highlight all of the edges of the jacket. Around the collar, along the front where it could button up, and any of the little fabric straps that are hanging off the jacket, we'll want to highlight those as well. Now we're going to take Abaddon black. We're going to paint all of the leather surfaces. So this will include the backpack, the boots, and any of the straps that are spread across the model. If you are planning on doing any armor pieces in black, this would also be a good time to pick those details out as well. We're also going to do the hat on the top of his head with black. Once the black is dried, we're going to take Dawnstone dry brush paint, and we're going to just roughly paint this over all the leather. Now you could do this with an edge highlight manually, but when I painted this I was envisioning an old pair of boots that I used to have that were a black leather that I never cleaned or did anything to, and they really got a really rough gray wear and tear look on them. And that was what I was trying to mimic when I did this. With the leather all done, we're going to go through with Lead Belcher. We're going to start picking out the Power Claw and the Shuda and any other details that we want to be done up in Lead Belcher. He also has a nose ring on his face. It'd be a good idea to pick that out. He also has the steel toe boots going on. So you want to pick out the steel toes on the boots. And if there's any other details you see along the way, pick those out as well. Once that's done, we're going to shade it with Agrax Earthshade. We're going to let this pool up pretty heavily. This is going to give a weathered look. If you do it right, it might even make some of the metal parts look a little bit rusty. Now we're going to take Balthazar Gold. We're going to pick out this tube that comes out of the Power Claw and connects to his backpack. We're also going to pick out any details that we might want to be gold later on, just to kind of fit in with the color scheme that I use in my Orcs army. It's also fun to just pick out a few details to give this brighter color, just to kind of contrast. because we know commandos want to be stealthy, but they're not necessarily very good at it. Now to continue building up the armor and make them fit with my orc scheme, we're going to use Temple Guard Blue. We're just going to paint this over all the armor panels on the claw here, as well as on the main side panels of his Shuda. Now we're going to go through, we're going to shade the Balthazar Gold areas with Agrax Earth Shade. Which is going to darken them down, give a nice brown tone to things. Continuing to shade things, we're going to take Coelia Green Shade. We're going to shade all of the parts that I painted with the Temple Guard Blue. Now that we've done that, we're going to take Wraithbone. We're going to pick out the skulls that are on the side of his Shuda, as well as the blanket that's hanging from his backpack. We're also going to pick out the upper tube that's coming out of his Power Claw, and we're going to just kind of clean that up and bring it back to the white color that it was in. Now that we've done that, we're going to take Contrast Skeleton Horde. We're going to paint this on the blanket, as well as the wraps that are on the barrel of the Shuda. It's time to clean the armor back up. We're going to use Temple Guard Blue. We're just going to layer over the previously shaded Blue Claw armor panels that we did before. Once we've done that, we're going to do the same thing, but now with Retributor Armor. We're going to put this all over the face of each of these panels, but not all the way up to the edge. We want to leave that edge still in a slightly darker color. We're then going to use Corn Red, and we're going to go pick out the cable, or rather the rubber wrap that's around this cable that's coming out of the backpack and connecting to the Power Claw. There's another cable on the other side of his backpack. We'll also pick that out with this color. Getting down to some of the smaller details, we're going to take Lead Belcher. We're going to just go through, we're just going to dot each of the rivets that are spread across the model. This is also a good time to clean up any things where you've overpainted, any Lead Belcher bits that just don't look quite right. It's also a good time to add some paint chipping along the edges of the armor panels. We're also going to take some Wraithbone, and we're just going to put a few dots in the radar display on his backpack. We're also going to pick out the end of the optics on his Shuda with the same Wraithbone. Once those are dry, we're going to take a technical paint called Tesseract Glow, and we're just going to put a big dot of this on the optics and in the radar display. And with that, we finished painting this knob. This has been a fun project. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, then subscribe to my channel, and then leave a comment and let me know what I can do for future videos. If you'd like to see more orcs, or if there's something else you'd like to see. Again, thank you, have a great day, and we'll catch you in the next one.